Hey, what's going on, guys? OJ back here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about UFC fighters who I need to see win their next fight. All right, for one reason or another. All right, whether I love to glaze these fighters, whether they're up against someone who I really dislike, I just need to see a particular fight end in a result that favors me. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to present to you seven fighters that need to win their next fight. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. Okay, so the first fighter I have for you guys, Charles Oliveira. All right, I am a delusional Charles Oliveira fan, and if anything, he is the reason why I train jujitsu. All right, I watched Charles Oliveira on the come up and went, "Oh my gosh, he is not making Brazilian jiu-jitsu look completely gay." Right? You know how hard that is for someone who has no grappling experience over the course of like 20 years of their life, right? Charles Oliveira was the guy to introduce me to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I trained Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because of Charles Oliveira. Now that I train Brazilian Jiu Jitsu a little bit, I realize I don't have the guard game of Oliveira. You know, the Lion just can't go around submitting people with guillotines every time he's about to get taken down. But hey, all right, Charles Oliveira was the guy to introduce me to Jiu Jitsu. All right. And last but not least, though, if he loses the Gamrot, and keep in mind, I have nothing against Matej Gamrot. They're kind of cooked. All right, there's no other way to say it. All right, Matej Gamrot, I feel like if someone is losing to Matej Gamrot at this point, like a top contender who's been around for a while, I don't know where you go from there. Right, Charles Oliveira, I would at least want to see him get like potential getbacks or redemptions. Like, oh, maybe he gets a rematch with Max Holloway. Maybe he fights Justin Gaethje again. Maybe he fights like Arman Sarukian again down the line. Maybe he fights Ilya Taporia. And trust me, he might submit Ilya Taporia with a heel hook. All right, you never know. The Lion submits everybody with a heel hook whenever he wants. So yeah, Charles Oliveira. I just need him to win. I just need him to see at least beat Gamrot so we can be more comfortable with the fact that Charles Oliveira can continue to fight because I don't know where he goes from here if he loses to Gamrot because the lightweight division's stacked, right? And it's gonna be incredibly difficult for Charles Oliveira to get back to a title shot. I think this is Charles Oliveira's last run, so I want to see him at least make it count, and that starts by beating Matej Gamrot this Saturday. All right, now up next we got Tom Aspinall. This is very simple. I just hate John Jones. I hate John Jones fans, and I do not want to see John Jones and his fans throw a parade when Tom Aspinall potentially loses to Cyril Gahn via fluke head kick or just a 5 round decision. And Cyril Gahn, right? If he wins the belt, like, there's no hype in the heavyweight division. All right, sure, you can run a bunch of open matchups, like maybe Sergey Pavlovich down the line, maybe like a Volkov trilogy. But realistically, no one would care about the heavyweight division. I would say it would be easier for Alex Pereira to beat Strogan than Tom Aspinall stylistically, but other than that, there's no hype for the heavyweight division. Whereas Tom Aspinall, like, sure, he's like way too dominant. But that's the thing, all right? Tom Aspinall is knocking everybody out in within like the first round or so. And at least it's very cool to see Tom Aspinall just smoke all of the heavyweights on the heavyweight roster. And again, I would just love to rub it in John Jones fans' faces when Tom Aspinall beats Cyril Gahn in equally or more impressive fashion than what John Jones did. So yeah, Tom Aspinall, please beat Cyril Gahn at UFC 321 so we can shut up John Jones fans once and for all. All right, now up next we got Hyun Park. All right, this is very simple. He is Korean. That is the main reason. All right. Technically, I don't have to list any other reasons, but the reason I need to see him win is because I literally glazed this guy so hard that I delusionally picked him to beat Tatsuro Taira at the Apex. Now, that was tough for me to watch. All right, Hyun Park had nothing to offer, but the UFC is giving him another chance at the rankings. He is on a full training camp and he's fighting Bruno Silva, who is a much more approachable matchup. And I think Hyun Park has the potential to become a top tier flyweight in the UFC. So I need Hyun Park to come out there, right the wrongs, and beat Bruno Silva in impressive fashion, probably by round one or two submission, so we can talk about Hyun Park as a future contender in the flyweight division. All right, now up next we got SeokHyun. All right, also very simple. He is Korean. That's literally it. But I have to talk about Hyun and glaze him a little bit. I think he has a lot of potential at welterweight. All right, a lot of the guys outside of the rankings of the welterweight division, I simply don't think are all that spectacular. You got a couple of guys outside the rankings, like a Renat Fakhretdinov, you got a Randy Brown, you got a Jonathan Mikolaev, you got that Islam Dulatov guy, the Mogger himself. But I don't really know of that many prospects I really rate in the welterweight division. But Ko Seok-hyun is in mix with the four guys I mentioned. All right. And I think Ko Seok-hyun can become ranked top 10. I think is a very reachable goal. And from there, I'm gonna be more like maybe he loses to this guy, maybe he loses to that guy. Like I could see Michael Morales beating Ko Seok-hyun, but I think the ceiling is very high for Ko Seok-hyun. He's getting Phil Rowe, the UFC Apex, sometime in November. So I think that's a very approachable matchup. It tells me that the UFC is on board with this guy and they're trying to build him up. So I would love to see Ko Seok-hyun beat Phil Rowe and then potentially fight someone just outside the rankings. Maybe give him a Neil Magny after this. All right. I would love to see Ko Seok-hyun in the rankings of the welterweight division so we can get another Korean prospect that I get to glaze incredibly hard. All right, now up next we got Jack Della Maddalena. Simply put, I have been glazing JDM since the early parts of this year. I picked him to beat Belal Muhammad when there was no reason to do so. I just picked him off the vibes, and I could see JDM escaping certain situations. All right, realistically, like, maybe Belal takes him down repeatedly as the fight progresses. That's like the typical common goal. But JDM proved everyone wrong, other than me, who picked JDM to beat Belal Muhammad. And JDM's actually fun to watch. I know contrarians like Kenneth Okoye and MMA Joey would like to disagree with you because they literally come out here with a straight face talking about how JDM's not that good. JDM arguably loses to Kamaru Usman. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? All right. JDM is incredibly fun to watch. He's in his prime. He's very underrated. And I believe that I need to see JDM win because we need to see Kenny Okoye and MMA Joey cope unbelievably hard. All right. That is literally the main reason why I need to see JDM beat Islam Makhachev. And to be fair, nothing against Islam Makhachev. I think Islam Makhachev's very cool. But some of his fans are quite frankly insufferable. So I need JDM to beat Islam Makhachev at Madison Square Garden. Please make that happen so I get to laugh at Kenny Okoye and MMA Joey, as well as all of the other, excessive Pakistani Glazers. All right, now up next we got Belal Muhammad. All right, now I'm not the biggest fan of Belal Muhammad, but I don't hate him necessarily. But someone I do hate is Ian Gary. I despise Ian Gary, and Belal Muhammad is gonna fight Ian Gary at UFC Qatar sometime in late November. And I need Belal Muhammad to win, so I don't get to see Ian Gary talk about. So I defeated the number 2 ranked Belal Muhammad. So sit down, shut up, and give me my title shot right now. Alright, I do not need to hear that at the post-fight press conference. Alright, I want to see Ian Gary lose. I want to see Belal Muhammad smudge up Ian Gary on the canvas 29-28, which is a rare statement, I would say, because normally I don't want to see the grappler who just doesn't really finish anybody and just kind of smudges people up against the canvas. All right. I need to see Belal Muhammad win. I don't want to see Ian Gary win. And let's be honest, Belal Muhammad's trash talk's actually pretty funny. All right. Sometime down the line, I would love to see Belal Muhammad fight Kamaru Usman. So, Belal Muhammad, beat Ian Gary, then beat Kamaru Usman. Maybe he's up for a title shot. I doubt the UFC give it to him, but I'm just saying, I just need Belal Muhammad in a couple of more matchups. And it starts by beating the crap out of Ian Gary at UFC Qatar. Last but not least, I need Shavkat Rakhmonov to win his next fight. I don't care who it's against, right? I don't even care if it's against Sean Brady. And I'm pretty high on Sean Brady, in my opinion. I think Sean Brady deserves the next title shot, to be honest. But I need Shavkat Rakhmonov to win his next fight because I think the perception of Shavkat Rakhmonov is overhated. All right, people are calling Shavkat Rakhmonov a fraud just because he had a boring fight with Ian Gary. Spoiler alert: everybody has a boring fight with Ian Gary because that's what Ian Gary does. All right, and not only that, people are picking Ian Gary to win the rematch against Shavkat Rakhmonov just because their first fight was really close. And oh, Ian Gary had to step up on short notice. All right, Shavkat Rakhmonov literally had to switch out from Belal Muhammad to Ian Gary, which are polar opposite different styles. So I don't want to hear anything about short notice because Ian Gary, keep in mind, he was also in the training camp. So I want Shavkat Rakhmonov to come out there, even if it gets messy, all right, even if it goes to a decision, I need him to win his next fight. I don't want to see Ian Gary ever get a title shot, all right? And if Ian Gary, even if he, unless he beats Belal Muhammad and then Shavkat Rakhmonov loses, then I'll be like, all right, I gotta accept it. But if Shavkat Rakhmonov comes out here on his annual schedule of December, beats someone up, and then calls for a title shot, I say give him the title shot over Ian Gary. You know why? Because Rachmanov beat Ian Gary. All right. You always have to put the words almost. All right. Ian Gary fans, it's like, you can't say that Ian Gary wins the rematch when we watched the first fight and saw Shavkat Rakhmonov was the clearly better fighter. So I need Shavkat Rakhmonov to remind these fools of who this guy is, and I want to see him get the belt sometime down the line. All right, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can get this channel monetized. But otherwise, I've tweaked a little bit with my microphone, so let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about that. Other than that, though, again, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!